Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Newsbrowse News broadcast. Global news reports on a horrific incident in Shreveport, Louisiana, where 8 children were killed in 2 separate domestic violence shootings early Sunday. The victims ranged in age from 1 to approximately 14 years old, and some were related to the adult male suspect. A total of 10 people were shot in the attacks, which occurred across 2 homes and a third undisclosed location south of downtown Shreveport. The gunman, after stealing a car and leading officers on a chase, was later killed when police fired at him. This tragic event marks the nation's deadliest mass shooting in over 2 years. Local officials expressed their shock and sorrow, with Shreveport Police Chief Wayne Smith stating he cannot begin to imagine how such an event could occur, and Mayor Tom Arsenault calling it maybe the worst tragic situation we've ever had. Louisiana State Police are currently investigating the circumstances. Independent grocers across Canada are grappling with escalating fuel surcharges from their suppliers, a direct consequence of the war in Iran and elevated global oil prices, according to City News Everywhere. Giancarlo Tremarchi of Vince's Market noted surcharges ranging from $15 to $50 per truckload, which quickly compound given independent stores' need for frequent, smaller deliveries. This situation threatens to increase food prices, particularly for fresh produce, where transportation can constitute 10 to 15% of the retail cost. Gary Sands of the Canadian Federation of Independent Grocers confirms many stores are receiving notices of price hikes or temporary surcharges. Economist Mike Von Massaw highlights that independent grocers operating on slimmer 2% margins compared to large chains face significant pressure, while some grocers are trying strategies like self-pickup for produce or adapting offerings. Many are currently absorbing these rising costs. However, there's a growing concern that these costs may soon be passed to consumers, affecting competitiveness. CTV News reports that a British Columbia man, identified by the initials KJM due to a publication ban, has been sentenced to 6 months in jail for assaulting his girlfriend's 2-year-old son. KJM pleaded guilty to 1 count of assault by choking and 1 count of assault. The horrifying incidents, which occurred on 2 separate occasions, just 2 days apart, were captured on a nanny camera in the child's bedroom. The court heard that on the first occasion, KJM kicked and then choked the screaming toddler, holding him down. 2 days later, he kicked the child in the head. Judge Tamara Galinsky emphasized the victim's vulnerability and the breach of trust, stating the violence would have an inevitable and long-term impact. While the Crown sought a 1-year jail sentence and the defense argued for a community sentence, the judge considered KJM's guilty plea, lack of prior criminal record, expressed remorse, indigenous ancestry, and ongoing impacts from a traumatic brain injury as mitigating factors for a shorter custodial sentence. Following his release, KJM will serve 18 months probation, with conditions restricting contact with young children and imposing a weapons prohibition. The Canadian press reports that Canadian businesses are welcoming the federal government's decision to temporarily suspend the federal excise tax on fuel. This move is expected to cut gasoline prices by 10 cents per liter and diesel costs by 4 cents per liter until September 7. Karanjit Singh, owner of Nova Express, an Eastern Canadian logistics company with over 200 vehicles, noted that his firm's fuel bill had doubled since the Iran war began escalating prices, forcing him to implement surcharges and face pushback from clients. Dan Kelly, president of the Canadian Federation of Independent Business, highlighted that many small businesses are at a breaking point due to various economic challenges, with 2/3 absorbing rising fuel costs. Kelly advocates for more provincial involvement in fuel tax relief and a permanent end to the tax-on-tax system at the pumps. According to the Canadian press, President Donald Trump announced the U.S. forcibly seized an Iranian-flagged cargo ship, the Tuska, near the Strait of Hormuz on Sunday. Trump stated the vessel was warned to stop but continued, leading the Navy to disable its engine room and Marines to board the ship. This marks the first such interception since the blockade of Iranian ports began last week. The incident casts a shadow over Trump's earlier announcement that U.S. negotiators would head to Pakistan on Monday for further talks with Iran, aiming to extend a fragile ceasefire. Iran has not confirmed its attendance, and its chief negotiator, Mohammad Bagher Khalibaf, acknowledged significant differences remain. The blockade continues to impact global oil and humanitarian supplies, with Iran asserting its right to control transits in the strait. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.